Hi everybody, I'm Tom, and I'm here to tell you about a failure of mine. I think that's kind of the deal, right? You guys bought a ticket. I talk about a failure. That's our relationship tonight. So a long time ago, I learned to give a speech, and one of the things about giving a speech is you tell people what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them that thing. So let's give you a quick outline about my failure. There are 4 ingredients to this failure. The first one is my own ego. I have a large, extremely large ego. The second is the news. We'll talk about the news and how they may not be telling you sort of a balanced and accurate thing every night. I didn't say, what's the tagline, fair and balanced? I don't want to use that, but any news. And the third is your friends and family, how their love for you and their adoration of you can cloud their judgment. And then the fourth is that before I was successful, I was cheap, and it worked out for me. But I thought that being cheap was something you only did before you were successful, and that once you became successful, it should go away. So I'm going to do a little call and return. I'm going to ask you to repeat back my summary. There's 4 words: ego, news, friends, and cheap. So on 3, 1, 2, 3, ego, news, friends, cheap. 1, 2, 3. Ego, news, friends, cheap. All right, and we're off. So let's talk about my ego. It might come as an amazing shock to you, but I'm old. It's true, I'm old. And one of the things about being old is that one of the great things is your friends become old too. And I like old people because old people say stuff that they shouldn't say. And one of the great things about your old friends is that secrets suddenly don't become so secret anymore. And the longest held ones, the ones that are the oldest, have sort of survived this thing. They're the juiciest, the most memorable ones, the ones that stuck in their head for 20 years. And recently, about a year ago, this happened to me, and a friend told me something an ex-girlfriend said about me, and it was, Tom Nardone, that's me, has the ego of 3 gorgeous men. And upon hearing this, I imagine there's some scotch involved. I said, I have the ego of 3 men? And he said, oh no, my friend. Tom Nardone has the ego of 3 gorgeous men. And it is true, I have a gigantic ego. And that statement was made before I became a successful business person, before I was profiled in magazines and things like that. So you can imagine it has only gotten worse. Just symptomatically, I'll probably take more time than I need, but how many men do you know with a red leather suit, right? So, failure ingredient number 1, a large ego. So, second ingredient is the news. So I used to love the news. I listened to NPR, that was my news choice. And one day on NPR, there was a story about how you shouldn't listen to the news, which is brilliant to me. And this is the gist of the story. It makes perfect sense, and if I convey it right, maybe it will have an impact on you. But there is some poor schlub in a newsroom every day, and he has to decide what the lead story is that day. And that lead story gets the front page. It gets the photograph that's 6 inches wide. It gets the 48-point font, and on the radio, it gets maximum volume right after the break. And on the TV, it gets the lead story of the day with the motion graphics and everything. The problem is that some days, there's an earthquake in Haiti that kills 300,000 people. Other days, a girl falls off her bike, right? So the reference isn't correct. The news is feeding us things with no reference point. And here's an example. My failure relates somewhat to diseases. So we're going to talk about 4 diseases that are in the news, and I'm playing a game. Every time I have to look at my notes, I have to drink. So, it's only 9 minutes. I can't get that drunk. So there's 4 diseases in the news. I think you probably all heard of them. Flesh-eating bacteria, right? There's bird flu, there's SARS, and there's malaria. Those are 4 diseases you kind of, seem like you hear about them. So let's talk about how many cases there are worldwide and how many deaths there are worldwide from these diseases. Flesh-eating bacteria, there have been, last year, 2013, there were 10 cases worldwide of flesh-eating bacteria. Yet we're all nervous about this. Bird flu, 27 cases. Neither disease had a case within the United States last year. SARS, there were 8,300 cases worldwide, but there were 27 in the US. You could have been one of those people. Malaria, there were 220 million cases of malaria last year, and it killed 1 million people in a year. The population of Grand Rapids, Lansing, and Detroit combined were killed by malaria in 1 year. Happens every year. We don't hear about it. So my story isn't so serious. It has to do with head lice. So we'll talk more about the head lice epidemic. But failure ingredient number 2, thinking, I thought, I have to personify it because it is my failure. I get to own it. I thought that the news was real. Sorry. It's a mean thing to say, I guess. Okay, so let's go light and talk about your friends. So friends are the greatest thing. They really are. And your friends love you, and you love your friends, and you think they're funny, and they think you're funny, and there's no absolute about it. It is what it is. You love them. They adore you. And we all have friends, I hope. And my friends, I thought, like me. And then what happens is when you become successful, they don't have any reference anyway, but they lose it as well. The person that they thought was an idiot, now they think might be like an idiot savant, right? So they realize, wow, he's had a success. Like I had launched a successful business and then another venture from that business and a third venture. And they were all successful, and I was in the papers. And when it came to the fourth idea, having to do with lice, I asked them what they thought. Oh, great idea. That sounds fantastic, Tom. But that's not how it works. So let's talk about, that's ingredient number 3. Your friends love you. That's pretty simple. My failure. So you don't know who I am. I'm not from Grand Rapids. I'm from the Detroit area. But I have one of the weirdest jobs in the world. I run a company called PriveCo. PriveCo finds embarrassing products, things that are embarrassing to buy in person, and we sell them online in the most private manner possible. So there's no email list and no reminder that you need more hemorrhoid cream. That's what we do. So it started with an online drugstore, but I own and run vibrators.com. I'm the world's largest retailer of bachelorette party merchandise and other things like that. So society allows me to wear a red leather suit. Or I just allow myself, and nobody likes, certain people in society would not like me no matter what I did. So I might as well wear the suit. So anyway, my job at the company, it's not a huge company, but my job is to find the next big thing. And the news was about an upcoming lice epidemic. Lice were becoming more resistant. They were becoming harder to kill. They were going to spread from Miami to the rest of the country, and we're all going to be knee-deep in lice. It was a problem. Gonna be. Not yet, but it was going to be. Well, I decided that my company should launch a head lice website. It was called liceshop.com. Sounds great, doesn't it? And and of course I asked friends, and they, oh yeah, that sounds really good, Tom. Go right with the hemorrhoid creams, right? Yeah, sure, no problem. Sounds great. Make $1 million. And so then what happened was, since we had launched 3 successful businesses before, starting small and then building them into nice websites over the years, I wanted to launch this one right. I slaved over it. I put money into it. I remember having conference calls with Harvard professors to discuss their research on head lice. I did that. And I poured $30,000 of employment time and graphic work and other things that I couldn't do in 6 months of my life into this website. It was kind of neat. If you thought you had head lice, or pubic crabs are the same thing, so that's even funnier, right? Same animal, different spot, kids. So if you thought this was something you had, then you could go on this website and you could see never before microscopic photos of these things and see if that's what it was. Maybe you had dandruff, I don't know, you know. And there was a flow chart, which was early internet, so it was nice. Okay, that's what I want, that's what I'm looking at, this is what I want. Does anyone understand why this business didn't work? So, yeah, all right, I'll get to it. It's pretty simple once you hear it, trust me. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't dumb. So then the website told you what you needed to do. Like, okay, you need this product, this shampoo, this comb. Pretty straightforward stuff. And so I had some experience with the press, you know, before, and we did our press releases, and that's usually the harbinger of success, is if the press mentioned something. So I went to all those people that had written or talked about the upcoming lice epidemic and told them that liceshop.com was preparing to help everyone out. And none of them wrote the story. It wasn't the lead that day. But a few people that had written about me wrote about it out of courtesy. This is Tom's next venture, and he had struck gold before, so maybe this will work. Who knows? And but the gist of it is this. I'm going to ask you some yes or no questions, right? So you guys say yes or no. So you just found out you might have head lice. Does it gross you out? Yes. Okay. Would you want to immediately find out or make a doctor's appointment? You want to immediately find out? Yes. Okay. If you went to a website that was easy and intuitive to figure out, and it told you what product you needed, would you order it online and wait 2 days to get it in the mail? Yeah. So, right? Yeah. $50,000 or so I spent on that one. So, all right. So I want to come full circle on the closing. I think a good speaker does that. And so one other great thing about getting old is that these wounds heal. This was about 10 years ago. So the wounds heal and the scar tissue forms. And even though for years and years, every time I read that lice epidemic story, and it hits every 6 months or so, you're guaranteed one in September when the kids go to school. And you're going to get another one at some point. So it doesn't hurt as much anymore. But this year, hold on, I've got to look at my notes. This year, an article purported that the lice epidemic, the spread of the lice epidemic was going to accelerate this year because society was causing people to lean in closely. And the contact from hair to hair is what spreads lice. And the headline of this story was, "The lice epidemic is being caused by selfies."